Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike Green. I'm one of the owners of 1A Auto. I want to help you save time and money repairing and maintaining your vehicle. I'm going to use my 20 plus years experience restoring and repairing cars and trucks like this to show you the correct way to install parts from 1AAuto.com. The right parts installed correctly. That's going to save you time and money. Thank you and enjoy the video.
In this video, we'll be replacing the front hub on this 98 Explorer with four-wheel drive, same as any 95-01 Explorer, Mountaineer, and Sport Trac. Tools you'll need for this are jack and jack stands, various millimeter sockets, including a 32 millimeter socket for the center hub nut, hammer, screwdriver, and pliers, and you'll also need a torque wrench that can go up to 150 foot-pounds.
Okay, so obviously you're going to want to jack up and secure your vehicle. You can just work a screwdriver in there and pry off your cap. Okay, if you don't have an impact wrench, you're going to want to remove this center hub nut when your car is still on the ground, and you'll need a 32 millimeter socket and probably a big breaker bar. I have the luxury of an impact wrench, so I'm going to use it. Okay. And just leave the hub nut on there for now. So now I'm going to take the wheel off and take the brakes apart. And then these are 19 millimeter. If you don't have impact tools, loosen your lug nuts on the ground, then raise your vehicle and secure it with a jack stand, and then remove the lug nuts. And once the lug nuts are off, just pull the tire right off. And there's 4 bolts, okay, that basically hold the brakes on. There's one here, 13 millimeter, and one up here, okay, and those just hold the calipers to this big bracket. There's also a 15 millimeter bolt here, okay, and a 15 millimeter bolt right up here.
Okay, so we're just going to speed through removing those 4 bolts, and you pull the caliper up and off, and you can wire tie it up top, and then that bracket comes off with the 15 millimeter bolts, and we'll pick it up from there.
Okay, this bracket then comes right off, and your rotor comes right off. Okay, you're going to want to take off this dust shield, and it's 8 millimeter bolts.
When I filmed this, I kind of did it out of order. You want to take off the backing plate, unbolt the hub, and then remove the hub and disconnect the wiring harness. And I did it, like I said, a little out of order, so you're going to see some things appearing and not appearing at different times during the video. So remove the 3 8 millimeter bolts that hold the backing plate on. Okay, and here I use a 5 millimeter Allen wrench to undo this bolt, which then you can unplug your ABS harness. You could do it that way, or you could pull the harness off with the hub.
The correct tool to use, which I'll show you, is an axle puller. What I like to do is sometimes they're easy. So smaller hammer, not a huge hammer. Okay, and I still have the bolt on here. I'm just going to watch the bolt. I'm going to give it one good rap. You don't want to pound on this. You don't want to beat it with a big sledgehammer because you could ruin your CV joints, but giving it one good tap with a good hammer won't hurt the CV joints, and if it breaks away, it makes your life a whole lot easier. And it did. It actually broke right away, which is good. Most of them do.
Okay, to quickly re-summarize what I did there, I just used the hammer, I watched the axle closely, gave it a good whack, and if you can see the axle move in relation to the hub, then you know it's broken loose.
Okay, now if it hadn't broken away, I would use this 2-jaw puller. Go in there like that. Okay, and then it just pushes it right through. You can see it pushing the axle right through. Once you know you have the axle broken loose, then there's 3 bolts right back here. 1, 2, and then if you pull your steering around, the 3rd bolt is right in there. You can see the other one right here. So probably a good idea to spray a whole bunch of penetrating oil on them and let that sit for a little bit. These are 15mm bolts. Make sure you get your wrench on there good and tight. And they actually usually come without too much problem. I'm not even using that big of a bar.
Yeah, but you may notice here that I do trade in my smaller bar for a larger breaker bar to get the other 2 bolts out. Could also hook a piece of pipe, or just take a piece of pipe and put it around the end of your ratchet, and that gives you more leverage as well.
Okay, and what you can do is before you get the bolts all the way out, you can give the bolts themselves a wrap. It's usually sometimes tends to break the hub away, but if you have to, you can just resort to hitting it from right here. And that breaks the hub away from the steering knuckle. Okay. Now get the bolts all the way rest of the way out. And there's my hub off the truck. Okay, so now in preparation to put the new hub on, I do want to remove this harness because the new hub comes with one. There's an 8mm bolt here, and then you just need to pull a couple of pins out of the frame there, and then it unplugs right here. So, and then the other thing is I'm going to just take a screwdriver and a wire brush and just kind of clean that out a little bit.
We're just going to fast forward here as I pull out that 8mm bolt, and then I use pliers and screwdrivers and whatever to get the clips out of the frame for the ABS harness. Basically I kind of break some of the clips and then just pry them out.
Okay, when you pull that off, you feel for this little tab right here, press and pull down. Okay, so new hub from Morning Auto, the old hub. Everything's all the same. It's got the harness on it, which I did disconnect from the original, but it's got a bolt all in there. The harness does point towards the front. Basically just going to kind of put it on, get it into the axle. Push it right on there and force the bolts through to start. Got that one started. And that one started.
Okay, we'll speed things up here as I just take those 3 15mm bolts and work them into the back of the hub and snug them up.
I've got my torque wrench set to 70 foot-pounds. There. Make sure it's on that bolt really well. I'm going to torque all three of them up to 70 foot-pounds.
Okay, so we'll fast forward torquing those other two bolts, and then reinstall your wiring harness, clip everything to the frame, and make sure you hook it back up. Okay, and we'll kind of fast forward putting that brake shield back up and tightening up those three 8mm bolts. Okay, and we'll also fly through putting the brakes back together and your wheel back on. Just the first time you drive your car, just be very careful. You've worked on the brakes, you've worked on the steering, so make sure your car is stopping before you go fast, and make sure that there's no looseness or anything in the steering before you road test it. If you do want to see putting your brakes back together in regular motion, just check out our front brake video. Put the wheel back on, put your lug nuts on, get them snug, then lower the car to the ground, torque them up to 90 to 100 foot-pounds.
Torque up this hub nut, and calls for 157 to 213 foot-pounds of torque. My trusty torque wrench here goes up to 150 pounds, so I'm going to torque it to 150 and then just pull it another couple inches. So okay, now I put the cap back on. I usually put the single thing right up here where this relief is.
We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.1aauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.